back.
Welcome back. Welcome back.
Now, if you know me, you know that I've been on a mission.
This year I ain't playing, I'm on a mission. Waiting my turn and I play my position.
I've played my position. I've done what I need to do to try to be great. So along this journey, I have this video evidence of an audiobook and all the other things that's going along with it. I'm about to hit this intro. We're going to go straight to Section 2, Officiating Axioms, and Section 3, Officiating Standards. All right, so let's get to it.
Drop a comment on what you learned before I get to the reflection and recap. Share this with other officials, and hit like and subscribe to keep the good vibes rolling. Section 2, Officiating Axioms. 1. We want quality fouls. See everything you call, but don't call everything you see. No technical fouls. Let them play. 2. Do not reach for your marker unless you intend to drop it. Get a number and keep officiating. When you put your marker on the field, your integrity is linked to it. 3. Always see the ball before you blow your whistle. 4. Be a good dead ball official. View all players until they are back with their teammates. 5. Be deliberate in ruling on a fumble and get a beanbag down. 6. Crisp ball movement, no committee meetings, no walking on the field. 7. Count players every down. 8. Excellent communications with coaches, players, and other officials. Courtesy always and use your winning words. 9. If you miss one, don't look back. We must always be ready to officiate the next play. 10. Concentration. Give everything you have on every play for 60 minutes, that's all. 11. Use preventive officiating when needed. 12. Display integrity, courage, and poise. Let the tight situations reveal your true character. 13. Be mentally and physically prepared to work the game. 14. And above all else, keep hustling. Section 3, Officiating Standards. The following rules-based standards have been adopted for all NCAA games. Ball spotting. 1. The ball can be placed on a yard line to begin the next series after a change of possession. For example, if a punt return ends with the ball between Team B's 33 and 34 yard lines, move the ball forward to Team B's 34 yard line. At all other times, the ball is placed where it became dead. 2. If a punt is down on the ground inside Team B's 5 yard line, the ball should be left and not moved to the next yard line. Line of scrimmage. 1. When in question as to whether an action is a false start or a legal motion, it is a false start. 2. Officials will work to keep offensive linemen legal and will call only when obvious or when a warning to the player and a subsequent warning to the coach are ignored. Don't wait till the fourth quarter to enforce rule. Officials shall treat formation warnings separately for normal scrimmage downs, punts, and field goal pat. 3. If an ineligible lineman's helmet is breaking a line drawn through the waistline of the snapper, he is legally on the line of scrimmage. If an ineligible lineman's helmet is anywhere between the waistline of the snapper and his rear end, a warning should be given, but a foul will be called if multiple warnings have already been given. If the offensive player is lined up with their head clearly behind the rear end of the snapper, a foul will be called without warning. 4. Don't be technical on an offensive player who is a wide receiver or slot back in determining if they are off the line of scrimmage. Any wide receiver lined up more than 1 yard off the LOS is considered in the backfield. When in question, it is not a foul. 5. Wide receivers or slot backs lined up outside a tight end will be ruled on the line of scrimmage and covering the tight end if there is not clear separation between their alignments. Any covered wide receiver intentionally lined up in an ineligible position must meet the same requirements as an originally ineligible lineman. If in question, they are not covered up. 6. When in question regarding player position on movement by the defense into the neutral zone, which causes the offense to move, a player is moving toward the offensive player. This protects both that player and the two adjacent offensive players. 7. Anytime a defensive player initially aligned tight to the line of scrimmage jumps forward, and there is a question whether they were in the neutral zone and the appropriate offensive player moves, shut down the play and penalize the defense. 8. Anytime a defensive player shoots the gap and there is a question as to contact, err on the side of offside and shut the play down to avoid a free shot on the quarterback. 9. Formations during the execution of a trick or unusual play have the highest degree of scrutiny and should be completely legal. 10. When in question, a quick or abrupt movement by the center or quarterback is a false start. 11. The snapper shall not be permitted to move the ball more than half a yard forward when taking his stance, nor allow the ball to be moved over the line to gain or goal line. The play shall be shut down, the ball reset, and the player and his coach warned. A foul for a false start shall be considered after a warning. Fumbles. 1. When in question, the runner fumbled the ball and was not down. 2. When in question regarding whether the quarterback passed or fumbled, it will be ruled a fumble. Defensive pass interference. Actions that constitute defensive pass interference include, but are not limited to, the following 6 categories. 1. Early contact by a defender who is not playing the ball is defensive pass interference, provided the other requirements for defensive pass interference have been met, regardless of how deep the pass is thrown to the receiver. 2. Playing through the back of a receiver in an attempt to make a play on the ball. 3. Grabbing and restricting a receiver's arm or body in such a manner that restricts their opportunity to catch a pass. 4. Extending an arm across the body of a receiver, thus restricting their ability to catch a pass, regardless of the fact of whether or not the defender is looking for the ball. 5. Cutting off or riding the receiver out of the path to the ball by making contact without playing the ball. 6. Hooking and restricting a receiver in an attempt to get the ball in such a manner that causes the receiver's body to turn prior to the ball arriving. Offensive pass interference. Actions that constitute offensive pass interference include, but are not limited to, the following 4 categories. 1. Initiating contact with a defender by shoving or pushing off, thus creating separation in an attempt to catch a pass. 2. Driving through a defender who has established a position on the field. 3. Blocking downfield during a pass that legally crosses the line of scrimmage. 4. Picking off a defender who is attempting to cover a receiver. Not offensive pass interference. 1. Offensive pass interference for blocking downfield will not be called if the passer is legally grounding the ball out of bounds near or beyond the sideline. 2. Offensive pass interference will not be called on a screen pass when the ball is overthrown behind the line of scrimmage, but subsequently lands beyond the line of scrimmage and linemen are blocking downfield, unless such blocking prevents a defensive player from catching the ball. 3. On a pick play, it is not offensive pass interference if the defensive player is blocking the offensive player when the pick occurs, and the offensive player doesn't make a separate action, or if the blocker's entire body is clearly not beyond the neutral zone. Other passing situations. 1. When in question on action against the passer, it is roughing the passer if the defender attempts to punish. 2. The teammate player who originally controls the snap can throw the ball anywhere if they are not under duress, except spiking the ball straight down. The clock is not a factor. Exception. Rule 732F allows the passer to spike the ball to stop the clock. 3. An uncatchable pass must be blatantly uncatchable in order to disregard a foul for pass interference. 4. When the team player who originally controls the snap is outside the tackle box and is throwing the ball away to avoid a sack, when in question as to whether the ball is beyond the neutral zone, it is beyond the line. Don't be technical. 5. If in question as to whether passers are or have been outside the tackle box, they are outside the tackle box. 6. Up to 5 yards between where a pass lands in bounds and the nearest eligible receiver may be used for determining in the area during short passes or when the receiver is relatively stationary on the field. This distance should be increased on long passes and when the receiver is running towards the spot where a pass lands in bounds. When the pass lands out of bounds, an eligible receiver is in the area if he is between the top of the numbers and the sideline, or in the end zone, and the pass is thrown over the vicinity of the receiver's head. An eligible receiver shall be deemed not in the area, no matter where he is positioned when the passer intentionally throws a pass significantly outside of the playing enclosure. 7. If the passer is contacted after starting the passing motion, it may be ruled no intentional grounding due to this contact. 8. If the passer is contacted clearly before starting the passing motion, there will be a foul for intentional grounding if there is no eligible receiver in the vicinity, or if the pass does not reach the line of scrimmage after the quarterback has been outside the tackle box. 9. If an interception is near the goal line, and there is a question as to whether possession is gained the field of play or end zone, make the play a touchback. 10. If the passer is legally throwing the ball away and it lands near or beyond the sideline, do not penalize the offense for having ineligible players downfield. Blocking. 1. If a player is illegally blocked or held into making a tackle, no foul should be called unless the action is a personal foul or there is an element of time between the foul and the tackle. 2. Obvious and intentional takedowns create special focus and should be called. 3. If there is a potential offensive holding, but the action occurs clearly away from the point of attack and has no effect on the play, offensive holding should not be called. 4. If there is a potential for defensive holding, but the action occurs clearly away from the point of attack and has no effect on the play, defensive holding should not be called. Example: a defensive back on the opposite side of the field holding a wide receiver on a design run play to the other side. 5. For blocks in the back, if one hand is on the number and the other hand is on the side and the initial force is on the number, it is a block in the back. The force of the block could be slight and still a foul if the contact propels the player past the runner or prevents the player from making the play. If the force is clearly from the side, it is not a foul. If the blocker is in a chase mode, all the action must be from the side to be legal. 6. Blocks that start on the side and subsequently end up in the back are not fouls as long as contact is maintained throughout the block. 7. Blocks in the back that occur at or about the same time a runner is being tackled should not be called unless they are in the nature of a personal foul or there is forcible contact that involves player safety. 8. A grab of the receiver's jersey that materially restricts the receiver and takes away their feet should be defensive holding if other criteria are met, and could also be defensive pass interference. 9. Holding can be called even if the quarterback is subsequently sacked and there is an element of time between the foul and the tackle. 10. Rarely should you have a hold on a double team block unless there is a takedown or the defender breaks the double team and is pulled back. 11. When in question if an illegal block occurs in the end zone or field of play, it occurs in the field of play. 12. Regarding blocking below the waist, when in question the ball has not left the tackle box. Kicking plays. 1. The kicker's restraining line on onside and short pooch kickoffs should be officiated as a plane. Any player breaking the plane before the ball is kicked should be called for offside. When in doubt, the kicking team player has not broken the plane. The same plane applies on normal kickoffs, but officials should not be too technical in regard to players breaking the plane. 2. Illegal block in the back can be called on fair catches, but not if the illegal block occurs away from the play as the fair catch is being made, or the play results in a touchback and contact is slight. 3. It shall always be roughing the kicker when there is forcible contact to the plant leg, whether or not that leg is on the ground. It shall be running into the kicker if a defender simply runs through the kicking leg and there is no forcible contact. All other contacts shall be based on the severity and the potential for injury to the kicker. 4. On kicks into the end zone when in question during the return, the ball has not left the end zone. 5. When in question, a foul by the receiving team on a scrimmage kick occurs after the ball is kicked. 6. When in question, the kicker is outside the tackle box. 7. The intent of the scrimmage kick formation numbering exception is to allow teams to make substitutions that are not deceptive. When in question, it is not a scrimmage kick formation. Plays at the sideline. 1. Substitution mechanics will be used in a situation in which a play ends with Team A player going out of bounds into their own team area. 2. If legal contact occurs before the runner has a foot down out of bounds, consider it a legal hit. If runners have obviously given themselves up very near the sideline and forcible contact is made attempting to punish, a foul should be called. 3. If the whistle has blown and a runner continuing to advance down the sideline has eased up, contact by the opponent against the runner is a foul. Officials should be alert and be sure any action is not part of the initial play before calling a foul. 4. When in question as to whether the runner stepped out of bounds, officials should rule the runner did not step out of bounds. Scoring plays. 1. When in question, it is not a touchdown. 2. When in question, it is not a safety. 3. When in question, it is a touchdown when a non-airborne runner crosses the goal inside the pylon with the ball crossing the goal line. Extended. Personal fouls. If action is deemed to be fighting, the player must be ejected. 2. When in question if an act is a flagrant personal foul or fighting, the player is not fighting. 3. Players committing flagrant personal fouls must be ejected. 4. When in question regarding hits away from the ball near the end of the play, consider it a dead ball rather than live ball foul. 5. Regarding defenseless players when in question, a player is defenseless. Unsportsmanlike conduct. 1. When in question whether an unsportsmanlike act is a live ball or dead ball foul, it is a dead ball foul. 2. Do not be overly technical in applying Rule 921. 3. Allow for brief, spontaneous, emotional reactions at the end of a play. 4. Beyond the brief, spontaneous bursts of energy, officials should flag those acts that are clearly prolonged, self-congratulatory, and that make a mockery of the game. 5. A list of specifically prohibited acts is in Rule 921A1 through. That list is intended to be illustrative and not exhaustive. All agree that when those acts are clearly intended to taunt or demean, they should be penalized. 6. Spitting on an opponent requires ejection. Game clock. 1. When in question, a charged team timeout precedes a foul that prevents the snap. Exception. When Team A has been flagged for a pre-snap illegal substitution foul, a timeout called at the same time by Team A does not negate the foul. 2. Any time lost due to the clock being started erroneously, such as when a dead ball foul is called, the clock must be adjusted. 3.5 Axiom. In order to adjust game clock errors, there must be more than a 5-second differential if there is more than 5 minutes remaining in either half. 4. As a guideline, when there is between 2 and 5 minutes remaining in a half and the clock is stopped to complete a penalty by the team ahead in the score, or the score is tied, the referee should consider in Rule 343 and afford the offended team the option of starting the game clock on the snap. If the score of the game is not competitive, the referee should not invoke Rule 343 in this situation. Miscellaneous. 1. The ankle or wrist is considered part of the foot or hand, respectively, and does not make a runner down. 2. During a timeout, if a team huddles near the sideline, all players, coaches, and team personnel must remain outside the numbers and in front of the team area. Collaborative replay. Pre-game duties. Test all communications with stadium replay booth at scheduled time prior to kickoff. Take part in replay booth pregame and review all in-game procedures and mechanics. Review camera layout, including camera names and locations, and which cameras are available directly to the replay booth. No broadcast audio available to the replay official. Before the play, monitor the pre-snap routine from the replay booth. Know the game situation, including field position, down and distance, time remaining, clock status, and pay special attention to anything that may have an impact. During the play, work through each layer of the play, including snap, kick, transfer of football action around ball carrier, end of down clock status. Identify reviewable aspects that may have a significant impact. After the play, be an active listener to communication in the booth. Look for status of the football and ruling on the field. Ensure all reviewable aspects are considered. Both the booth and collaborative replay officials have authority to stop the game for further video review. The collaborative replay official will confirm the booth replay official's decisions to clear scores and turnovers. During a review, the collaborative and booth replay official will ensure all reviewable aspects of the play are considered. All pertinent angles and replays are viewed. All decisions, rules, and enforcement aspects are correct. If there is an aspect of the review being overlooked, the collaborative replay official or booth replay official will offer input immediately at that point. The collaborative replay official or booth replay official will take decisive action if the process or decision in the booth is incorrect or headed down the wrong path.
Overall, let's go ahead and get into my recap reflection. If you haven't commented what you learned yet, then pause the video and do it now. It's time for the reflection recap section. All right. So I understand what we're talking about. This is about character. And I know character, we're going to do another section a little bit later. It's about character. But this refers to your character, your knowledge of the game, the understanding. Because when it boils down to it, the coaches, they want to do whatever it takes to get that dub for their team. All right. And you want to be fair and you want to make sure there's no advantages or no disadvantages. And just like how a lineman having his head like right there on the butt where it's close, you saying, hey, that's on. Rather than, a gap, when you see a gap on that, then you're like, okay, no, that's off. But if it's like that, we're not doing tick for tack or the feathers or none of that. All right. So it's just one of those things where you have to have a threshold where you know what you're looking for and try to make adjustments before to not put yourself in that certain position. All right. Appreciate you watching. Well, that's a wrap for this section. Hopefully, y'all learned something today. If you made it all the way through, then you're a real one. And I hope it brought you closer to your goals. Go ahead and subscribe and share with the football official, fan, or coach. Ambition out.